What's so ridiculously overpriced, yet you still buy? Story 1. Groceries. When little Timmy checked his bank and found it rather bare, he said, I need to check this blank. I need some cash to spare. I work all day, I work all night, and still I'm always broke. It isn't fair, it isn't right, the hapless Timmy spoke. I need to find a multitude of ways to save, he cried. And so he just stopped buying food, and Timmy died. Story 2. Pretty much all the things I need to stay alive. Oh ho ho, you like a little taste of luxury, I see. Turns on the heat. Story 3. At concessions at sporting events. As much as I try my best to eat before I go and resist the urge to buy beer when I'm there, some days, seeing others enjoying their beer and food and snacks make me say, F it, and I indulge too. Man, the chokehold sporting event food can have on me. Depending on where you're sitting, the food isn't even very good, but it is. LOL. Story 4. Rent. Housing in general. Even people who can afford a house are paying double than 10 years ago. And this group obviously gets smaller and smaller. And a lot of people are waiting for a crash. I think the next couple of years is as much as a crash as we're going to get, and then everything will skyrocket again. Story 5. Glasses. I could always buy cheap ones, but I'd rather pay money to have nice frames than I actually like wearing, rather than a pair that I couldn't care less about. I used to hate wearing glasses because I thought they made me unattractive. When I got older, I realized I was just wearing cheap, ugly glasses, and I looked pretty good in the right ones. Story 6. Food with current inflation, else you die. Aunt's large bag potato chips used to be 2 bags for $6 at my supermarket. Now it's 1 bag for $4.99. 12 months austerity diet gonna be. Story 7. Health insurance medical supplies. For our family of 5, the insurance premiums, deductible, and medications come to about $35,000 a year. You don't have an out-of-pocket maximum of like $12K or something? Sounds like some trash health insurance. Story 8. Kerrygold butter. LOL, I live in Ireland where it's not expensive, but was so absolutely baffled as to why someone was paying so much for it, then forgot that this wasn't the Irish subreddit. Imported, I'm assuming. Is it really that loved in the US? That's mad. Good old Irish cows doing their thing. Story 9. I can't believe how much people spend on alcohol at a bar. Sure, I can get drunk in my garage with the boys for $50, or we can go get drunk at a bar for $400 and then complain about it the next day in the garage. Story 10. We're closing on a house tomorrow, and I've had so many people give me crap for buying at such an expensive time. However, our mortgage, insurance, and property taxes included will be almost $400 cheaper than what we're paying for rent currently, and that would be going up by over $100 if we chose to stay and renew our lease in February. I'm sure home prices will come down a bit next year, but it won't be by a whole lot in our area. It's not the cost of the home, it's the affordability of the mortgage, and you can always refinance after rates drop and save even more money. People sometimes don't see the forest for the trees. Story 11. We had to rush my grandma to the hospital this weekend. She was coherent enough to call my mother, but was just babbling and not making sense. My mom tried to call her back, but didn't get an answer, so she rushed over. She found her laying on the living room floor, passed out. Her blood sugar was over 400, and she was in a diabetic shock. Now, my grandmother has been living with her diabetes for the better part of 40 years. She knows how to control her blood sugar, recognizes all the signs, so on and so forth. We didn't understand what happened. It turns out she's been using her deceased brother's insulin, which was several years expired at this point, because she has been unable to afford it herself. She hasn't said anything because she didn't want to burden us. I can only imagine if this was happening in my family's life, how many others are also affected by a similar situation. Story 12. Lettuce. Great goodness. I went to buy the saddest head of iceberg lettuce the other day and they wanted $4. Not even the organic one. From 80 cents to $4 is nuts. Got the romaine heads instead. Edit PSA. Indoor or tabletop hypodermic gardens. Aero garden type stuff can be a really awesome introduction to growing some of your own food at home. Self-contained and pretty low maintenance, these setups can be found a lot cheaper these days. After the initial investment, looks like maybe less than 8 heads of lettuce for some of you. The cost of seeds, nutrients, etc. is pretty low. I found that it is a fun hobby that supplements our food and makes me more appreciate what it takes to get a salad on the table. Folks, it's no longer just for growing the wacky tobacco in a closet somewhere, lol. Story 13. Fucking toilet paper. After people panic bought it in 2020, it's so much more than it used to be. Stands out against the rising price of everything else. If you have one nearby, Costco sells toilet paper as a loss leader. I think a 36 pack costs about $27. Edit. It looks like it's a 30 pack for $24. Story 14. My antidepressants. For your information, Walmart has a whole list of $4 drugs, and there are antidepressants on that list. If yours isn't, you can always explain to your doctor that your meds got too expensive and ask to switch. Also, if you're ever on a name brand only medication, go to the drug company website for it. They frequently have coupon cards that you can bill along with insurance that lower the price significantly. Story 15. Concert tickets. My wife wanted us to go to a concert recently. She told me the tickets would be more than $700. I asked her if we were going to be witnessing the return of Jesus. When I was going to concerts in my teens and early 20s, $50 was considered expensive for a ticket. Most were around $35. Story 16. Business class, no contest. But I'm old and have lived frugally all my life, flying steerage, driving cheap cars, etc., etc., so now I can afford it occasionally. First time flying business this year, actually. It's nice. My wife had a work conference. I was going to stay home for the week, but she was able to get her job to move up her departure day by a few days. So, all we had to do was pay for my tickets and the few extra nights at the hotel, at a job special rate as well. So made it a fairly cheap trip for us. Well, due to the way the tickets were booked, we were seated next to each other, but we weren't booked as a pair, so to speak. My wife gets offered a bump up to business class. We explained to the person, hey, that's cool and all, but we're a couple, so we'd rather stay seated together back in economy. She says, okay, hold on a moment. Then, after a bit, she said we could both go up to business class. They overbooked economy, as usual, but everyone showed up. There were a few single seats available in business, so they were upgrading people. They just needed to ask a person if they wanted to switch seats to open up stuff for the two of us to sit together. Really nice. However, I can't afford to do that on the regular as much as I would like to. Story 17. Electricity. The main provider in my area wanted to raise rates about 9%, but only got approved for 0.78%. But we need the money to make improvements. That's what you said last year. What did you do with that money? It looks like you're saying you need money this year to make improvements you said you'd make last year with the rate increase. Yeah, but we didn't do it, so now we need more. DTE can go fuck itself. Story 18. Health insurance that covers next to nothing. I have a 40-hour-a-week job and a 20-hour-a-week job. By the time all my insurance premiums and automatic withdrawals for medical bills come out of my full-time paycheck, my part-time paycheck ends up being a bigger deposit in my account despite getting paid $4 less an hour at that job. I know that there are people worse off than me, but holy fuck, is it getting harder to get up every day knowing that I'm working 60 hours a week and I am still drowning. Story 19. Razor refills. I was looking for this. Damn Gillette blades. Have you considered going the safety razor route like me? Cheaper and gives a cleaner shave.